So, welcome to Cheism today. I'd like to thank you for joining us.
If you don't mind, let me just go. Yes!
Yes, finally. Finally, we were able to make this happen. But you know what? You never remember what we said. The topic of this show is let go.
Yeah.
You know, what's done is done.
It's done.
And so
Absolutely.
we move forward. Thank you for welcoming us into your home. We are happy to be here with you again as we celebrate what we call today. And we want to thank Chineke, the Most High, for giving us the opportunity to have breath and to be able to inhale and exhale and do it one more time. You see, whatever you did not get done yesterday, as long as you're able to inhale and exhale, you've been given another opportunity to get it right. So we're claiming it. We're going to get it right again and again and again. Thank you, Chineke. And one thing, the ancestors, the honorable ancestors, for giving us this wherewithal to be here. Their footsteps, we're stepping in. You know what I'm saying? And without them, those big shoes, and we, you know, if we have to pad the shoes to fit it in, then that's what we must do. So we yes, we can, one way or the other. And so we are grateful to the ancestors. And today is Mother's Day, so Mother's Day is a special day all over the world. So I want to say happy Mother's Day to our mothers, and I want to say happy Mother's Day to my mom, who is in Nigeria.
Happy Mother's Day to you.
Happy Mother's Day to me. Happy Mother's Day. I got some flowers. I got some good stuff from the family, and we want to say Happy Mother's Day to all of you out there who are holding it down in this very difficult time, given the pandemic. You know, mothers are you're doing more than you have to do. You know, whereas you had the opportunity to go to work, now you're doing everything. You're not. Mothers are now the teachers. You know, they do.
But remember, you don't need one specific day out of the year.
No.
To
seriously.
acknowledge your mother.
Yes.
It's a 24/7, 7 days a week, 364 days a year job.
Yes, love her.
It never ends.
Love her. I mean, there are many people who lost their mothers to the pandemic who are mourning today because they don't have a mother to say Happy Mother's Day to. You know, so, but, you know, your mothers are still there spiritually. So say Happy Mother's Day to those that you have lost. But certainly Happy Mother's Day to your living mother. Don't take her for granted. Nothing is guaranteed. You know what I'm saying?
Only one mother.
Only one mom. You're not going to have another one. You know what I'm saying? So if you do not honor and respect and give her the credit that she deserves, you know, who knows, right? So anyway, so here we are. I want to, I'm not going to pour libations. I always do my libations on my own. And I, you know, like we told people, make sure you do that. Honor your ancestors. Pour your libations. Get your, you know, open up that spirit. Open the door so that the spirit will march out for you. You know, if you got your spirit bottled up in, you know what I'm saying? You know, then you can't, what are you doing? That power has to be released. It has to be unleashed, rather, for it to work. You say you can get on your knees and pray and pray and pray and ask for whatever to come and help you. This doesn't happen because that power is already open the door, let it ride out, and help you and guide you and make you all that you can be.
Your crown has been bought and paid.
And paid for. Pick it up, put it on your head, and start stepping. So let me say a quick prayer to our great grandmothers. Our grandmothers. The ones that remind us or reminded us while they were living to stand up and walk in the glory of Chineke. To stand up and know that we are powerful and sacred beings. That we must employ the warrior spirit in anything that we do. We want to thank those ancestors. We want to thank those mothers. We want to thank them for reminding us to speak for ourselves. There's nothing more powerful than being able to speak for yourself. To them we say thank you, and to them we are grateful. Reminding us that we must stand for ourselves, speak for ourselves, and not allow other people to define us. We thank those great grandmothers, those grandmothers who reminded us that we still have their wisdom in our minds, and it is acceptable to us through the power of our spirit. All we have to do is claim it. We thank those great grandmothers, grandmothers who have reminded us that we must go beyond our humanness. You know what it means to go beyond your humanness? Stop being irregular. Stop being simple. Stop embracing anything foreign to you. When you stand up and define yourself, you're going beyond your humanness. And you're entering the unlimited world of your spirit. And you see, when you're at that level, when you vibrate at that level, the universe will pick you up. Mother God will hold you up. And Father God will keep you up. And you can now walk in your life with glory. And you know what I'm saying? Okay, now, walk in holy boldness.
Absolutely.
This is what we're supposed to do. That's Chineke wants us to be bold.
Yes.
Chineke wants us to be redefined. You know, we've been defined in a very poor way. And some of that definition is ours. You know, we are giving, so let's be honest about it. You know, if you are going to walk in holy boldness, you have to be prepared to redefine yourself. You cannot hold on to fear.
You can't.
You can't hold on to fear, because fear will make you hold on to something that you should not be holding on to. Something that wears you down. Something that weakens you. So your responsibility. Let's not talk about being the children of God when we act like we don't know what that word means.
Exactly.
Come on now.
It's true.
So I am so excited to be here today, and I'm telling you, Chineke is working miracles today. Working miracles for me. I know I'm claiming it. And it's ready to work miracles for you too. Today, our discussion, UD, have I introduced you? You know, I have to do that.
Please do.
You know what I'm saying? You know, I cannot move on without introducing my co-host.
Yes.
Dibia Ochuaja, UD Onyioha.
God.
I never really introduced myself. I'm okay, Dibia, Dr. Onyioha Osimiri.
Okay, man.
KOK.
Go ahead.
You know what? You cannot beat what he created.
You can't.
I'm a creation.
We're right here on camera.
Of KOK.
Yes.
And the man that has reminded us, and I'm proud and happy every day that I can claim him as my father. And my mother for reminding us how great we are. And how if we believe that we are great, we can make a difference.
Yes.
And that is why my father used to say to me, you don't have the right to die until you made a difference, and never live anywhere unknown.
True statement.
What would your tombstone say when you leave this earth? What would it say? That you served somebody, or that that somebody served, no, let me put that around. That you served somebody's will, or you provided the opportunity for somebody to be better because you lived. What would your tombstone say? You know what I'm saying?
In our own parlance, it is the equivalent of living forever. Your legacy, the legacy that you leave here, the impact that you've made in people's lives and in your community, the conversations about you that is had 1,000 years from now.
That's right.
Is your validation.
That's right.
That's living forever.
That's right.
Not in the flesh.
That's right. You know,
but in people's minds.
In people's minds.
Famous or infamous, it doesn't matter.
That's right.
But you have to make a difference in your community and where you live.
And please, when I say walk in holy boldness, what I mean is, there's that Igbo, is it Boro?
Boro, yeah.
They say, Monachiso. If you're a cheese, you must understand what that means. Monachiso. That means I walk with Chineke.
Yes.
The power is already in me. I don't need to be on my knees all the time praying.
Absolutely.
All I have to do is open the door and let the power out.
Yes.
And Chineke imepori yozo. Yobosa. Thank you. That's what that proverb means. When you agree that you are capable of doing or achieving, then Chineke comes out.
Yes.
And says, here I am. What do you want? The ancestors say, what do you want?
The spirit.
Oh yeah. When you constantly begging, it's like when you raise a child. And you've given the child everything they need to move forward, but they keep coming back. Now, in the pandemic, we understand how that is. But if they keep asking and asking when you've given them everything, sooner or later you get tired. Say, boy, did I just give you what you needed?
What did you do with
what
I
did you
gave
do
you?
with what I gave you?
Yes.
And this is what Chineke is saying. You must be what you were supposed to be, what you are supposed to be. And that is powerful. Oh my God, don't get me started. I get excited when I talk about the power that's in me.
Yes.
And I want it. You see what they say?
We all have it.
Power unleashed.
You all have it.
Power unleashed.
The power is in you. If you put your ears close to the ground, you will hear the footsteps of ants.
Yes.
That is the voice of Chineke in you, telling you what to do in times of trouble, what is right and what is wrong. And if you follow your talent,
yes,
and if you follow your desires, positive desires in life, it will lead you to a great and positive destiny.
Our topic today is letting go.
Yes, I love
letting
that
go. It's a beautiful topic because it covers so much of who we are.
Yes.
And what's holding us back.
Yes.
You know? Say mama rajagia or Joe.
Yep.
Let me repeat that in case you didn't hear it. What I say? Mama rajagia or Joe. The lizard climbed the tree and said to himself when nobody will praise him.
Yes.
If nobody will praise me, I'll praise myself.
Yep. And
the way you praise yourself is to not wait for validation by other people.
Others, yes.
You know, because what happens sometimes is we get scared if people don't recognize us. Immediate feedback. Yes. Then we just kind of shrink. We got to let go of needing to be validated by others.
Yes.
We need to validate ourselves, just like Nkwede said. If you cannot validate me, I'll validate myself.
Yeah.
Because we all have the capacity to be validated.
We're having a
little problem here.
We can't really see ourselves. We're just going to continue, and hopefully we'll be able to get back online. It shows that we're live right now, and we've been live.
Now I'm going to ask one of you who's here. If you can still see us, let us know, because the camera is having difficulty. But if you are seeing us, could you please type that you are seeing us
and acknowledge
and acknowledge that you're seeing us, so that we know that you are. If I don't get a response, then that means they're not seeing us anymore.
Please do it now.
Please do it now so we know.
Scroll down a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's see who's on there.
Okay. We're not seeing ourselves because the camera, for some reason, is struggling. So before we continue, we just want somebody to acknowledge that you're seeing us, so that we can continue. Because if you're not seeing us, then and we're not seeing ourselves, that means nothing is happening.
Yeah.
And they may not even be hearing me.
Facebook is an interesting.
Okay, Emeka says I can see.
Okay,
so well, okay, well, maybe it's just the camera. We're just going to continue, and hopefully, when they're done, or the program, when the program is done, everything will be all right.
Since he can see us, then I think
so that means they're seeing us.
So it's weird, but hey,
it's kind of weird.
Consider this a radio station.
Yeah.
With no cameras. So.
Yeah. So that's what we're
keep going. Okay.
Yeah, we're just going to keep going.
Yeah.
Today, as I indicated, we're talking about letting go.
Yes.
I'm a little bit depressed, and perhaps I shouldn't add that word to my day, because this is Mother's Day after all, and I'm supposed to be all excited and what have you. But it's sort of depressing, the news that's coming out from Africa.
It is.
And that is because Africa is losing a lot of its countries.
Yeah.
Is becoming colonized. There's I don't know how many of you have heard that Zambia is officially a Chinese colony.
Painful. Very painful.
That is the most painful thing I've ever heard.
It's painful, and it's astonishing to me that we have leadership in Zambia and in a lot of African countries that are just sitting back and allowing this to happen, maybe just based on their own personal greed, right? What's in this deal for me, without taking into account how their decisions is going to affect the country and the generations that will come after them. We're not leaving anything for our children. And this is a very, very, very sad testimonial or evidence.
Yes.
In terms of our complacency.
Yes.
You know, let these things happen, and before you know it, Africa no longer belongs to us.
Well, so when you talk about letting go, one of the things that we have to let go is greed.
Yeah, we have to.
We have to let go of greed, because
it
is this greed. Yes. You know, this me, myself, and I attitude, because they're not putting the money in the coffers of the country. You see, it's going in their pockets. And so what happens is, after you go and make a pledge to China or whatever country, and it's time for you to pay the debt, you can't.
You can't pay.
Because you never used it to set up what it was supposed to be. So it could not yield the dividends, so that you can pay back the debt. So what we have is that we've saddled our children
with debt.
And worse yet, can you imagine Zambian kids are no longer living in their native land? Now it belongs to another country. And I would say this: what happens when another country takes over? Do you hear what I'm saying? When another country takes over, then that means that all their culture supplants yours.
Yes.
So that means that our Zambian children will have to start learning Chinese. Look, one of the things I want to stress that emphatically, our goal is not to say that we don't want to work with Chinese, or we don't want to work with anybody. You know, that's not the point.
Yeah.
The point of the matter is, you cannot sell your soul and expect to be respected.
You can't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
You can't. No matter how primitive, quote unquote, you may think we are. That's our home. When the ground shakes, where are we going to go?
We can't go to China.
Where are we going to go? In China, they're not even letting them do what?
They don't let them in anymore. From what I understand, they're expelling a lot of Africans, you know, from China.
And blaming them for COVID.
Yeah, it's sad.
COVID just got into Africa. So how is it that we are the ones spreading COVID? It's a big tragedy. So now you've got Zambia has sold out. I mean, every aspect of Zambia is now in the hands of the Chinese. And then what is amusing is that you find the leader of Zambia, who thinks he's still the president, going to China as the president.
And borrowing some more money.
And borrowing some more money. Where is he going? Where's the money going?
I just don't
That's the tragedy of the whole thing. Where is the money going?
This mindset that we have, you know.
You know.
It's terrible. I mean, I look at it this way. I think we've had conversations, you know, before, where I always reiterate, you know, in terms of African folks, if you allow yourself to be disrespected, you will be disrespected. It's just the bottom line. If you act like a beggar, how do you think that the person you are asking for money, or you're begging for something, is going to feel about you? They're always going to elevate themselves above you, and they're always going to deal with you from a position of strength. And you're always going to deal with them from a position of weakness. And in the Black community globally, that's where we find ourselves right now, because we're not dealing with these foreign entities or countries from a position of strength. We have a right, just like they do, to sit at the table and dine with kings, as opposed to being under the table like lapdogs and waiting for handouts or waiting for scraps. They'll turn around and say thank you to people that are actually in your face, taking your resources and not giving anything back. Now, I don't blame them. And the reason why I say I don't blame them is because whether it's the Chinese or the European, whoever they are, they feel that they're doing something that is necessary to move them forward, to enrich themselves.
That's right.
Right? You can't blame them.
You can't.
It's just the way the world works.
That's right.
But it's sort of like keeping your doors open at night and expecting that no thief will come in there.
That's right.
To take what you worked hard for. That's the way we behave. That's the way we think. We're homeowners at 1 o'clock in the morning with our doors open, sleeping inside and expecting that somebody wouldn't come in here and either hurt you or your family, take what you have and leave you with nothing. Worse yet, leave you dead. And
our children, I've got to be honest, we African leaders must let go of greed. They must. And they must start thinking about children. They must start thinking about the generations to come. One of the questions that I had the opportunity to ask is, how many of our countries have planned for 20 years from now? The 10-year-old of today, okay, is going to be 20 years in 10 years.
Yeah.
Have we planned for them?
No, we haven't.
Have we planned for them? I'm sure there are some nations that are doing the best they can. But when you think about the fact that many of the African nations,
the majority of them,
have been offered all this money with no strings. Oh yeah, here, take all this. No strings attached. There is strings attached. You got to know. So you're selling the future of our children away. You're selling it down the river to all these investors. And they're not giving you anything because, quite frankly, all those roads, all those bridges and all of that, who do you think is being built for?
And even
when they do take over, it's so that the place is already set up.
Yeah, and even when you're negotiating, are you negotiating and getting terms that are beneficial to you and your growth? No, you're not.
No, you're not.
I mean, if you go to China and negotiate with the Chinese, they're going to negotiate based on terms that is going to be beneficial to the Chinese people.
That's right.
To the next generation of Chinese. They're not going to cut themselves off at the knees like we do. We have this me mentality.
That's right.
And that's a big problem in Africa. And you could chalk that up to the way we've been re-socialized in every facet of nation building. Right? Even your salvation in terms of sin, it's about you accepting.
That's right.
For example, Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. It's a personal thing.
Yes.
It's never about the community accepting Jesus as their Lord and Savior so that they get benefits, whatever those benefits may be. It's a me thing. How much money you get, how nice a car you drive, how big is your house. And the funny thing is when you acquire all this wealth, you now build a 30-foot wall to protect yourself from the poor guy outside your gates who is ready to tear you to shreds.
That's right.
Because they've been angry, you've been denying them of everything that they are entitled to.
You know what scares me? I have to tell you what really scares me right now, because I wonder, oh my God, how many countries in Africa are going to become recolonized in a few years?
I could give you a prediction.
Look,
80% of it.
Look, it is a scary stuff.
Yeah.
We need to let go of greed. I always say, if the ground shakes, where are we going to go? Africa is our home. But the people themselves, folks, I'm telling you, let go of your fear. Let go of the fear of challenge. People will challenge you. You're going to have obstacles. People are not going to want you to say what you have in your heart. Say it anyway. Say it.
Yeah.
By saying it, you help save your people.
Absolutely.
Say what must be said, because there are going to be people who are going to say, well, if you're not going to be my friend anymore. If you say what needs to be said, you need to be quiet, shrink into greatness. But you can't do that. Too much is at stake. I'm telling you, I am seriously wondering which Africa. Now we've seen Zambia has fallen. Now it's a fall. It's a fall. They can bring whatever bridges, whatever roads, or whatever they build over there. Zambia has fallen.
Nigeria is next.
What now? Kenya?
Yeah.
That I can name all of these people. It is frightening.
It is.
But I always say, let's be honest. Let's be careful. That we make it emphatically clear. You cannot complain about what others are doing to you when you allow it. If the world is a Serengeti,
it is.
Everybody's trying to survive. But you need to have that fight in you to survive.
Yes.
Nobody is going to come and save you.
You got to save yourself.
You got to save yourself. And to save yourself doesn't mean we go to war and all that stuff. Even how you think, how you raise your children, you recondition them to start thinking differently. You know, yes, we can. They need to think, yes, we can. Yes, I can do it. Some young man wrote me, and that was a very, very interesting letter that he wrote.
Yes.
And his letter, he was saying that this was so powerful. You know, he's so eager. He can't wait to go out there now and just fight for Chineke. I said, and that Chineke you're fighting for is you.
Is you.
It's already in there.
The God you seek is in you already.
It's already in you.
It's not this old man up in the clouds somewhere. That's just not what it is. I just want to kind of get back to what you were talking about fear, right? In the words of Franklin D. Roosevelt,
yes,
you know, the former American 4-time president.
Yes.
The only thing you have to fear, it's fear itself. Now, here's a question to everybody out there, to our audience. What is it in your life that you've ever accomplished that wasn't based on initial fear? Everything you've ever accomplished in your life, at some point you were afraid, but you had to face it.
Yes.
And when you overcame it, it made you a better person.
That's right.
So what are you scared of?
That's right. Take a chance.
Take your chance.
You know what my father used to say? If somebody says no to you, spell no backwards. It's on.
On. There you go. There you go. Absolutely.
That's the worst thing that somebody was doing is say no.
Yeah.
And if they say no, turn it the other way. So letting go means allowing the new you to emerge. But let me say something. When the new you emerges, not everybody's going to be happy.
No.
You know, because we have a world.
Especially people that were benefiting from your ignorance.
From your ignorance and your weakness and your fear.
Yes.
So the new you that's evolving, that they can see now, they'll let you know, oh, you don't want to do all of that. Because they don't want to be left behind. Not because they're bad people necessarily.
They just want to maintain their advantage.
They want to maintain their advantage. So you as a person, you know, everything that's going on around us is because we are gullible and we allow ourselves to stay at that level of functioning, of vibration. You have got to rise beyond listening to things that don't do you any good. It is not enough for you to have that mentality of I call it groupism. Okay, you know, because the rest of the group think this way, groupism, whatever. You got to be your own person. Think, research, find out what is necessary for me to do. Igbo people say, "Maraso ulo apuezi."
Yep.
You understand? So that means I start with me. Inwards.
Yes.
If somebody tells me, "Uwa," like the person that sent me that silly video, and I had to say, what's this for? For whose benefit is this video? Why do I need to hear? Well, I'm not going to go too much into that, but I have enough of self-pride, may I use that word, and understanding to know what doesn't sit right with me.
Yeah, you know, the people out there, you've probably seen a zombie movie or two.
Yes.
And when you watch a zombie movie, once they get the zombie virus in them, you know, the mind goes, right?
Yes.
They're controlled by this virus.
Yes.
And then you see them, all that kind of stuff. This is the African. That's where we are right now. And the reason why I bring this up is simply this. Because of colonization and slavery,
yes,
we were never given the chance to evolve.
We didn't.
It's like we were cut off at the knees. Our educational system was resocialized. Our medical system, our contributions to civilized behavior, every aspect of nation building and formation was changed. We became zombies. We were never allowed to occupy or take a rightful place in the universe.
Yes.
Cross-cultural pollination is how civilizations are built.
That's right.
But you don't throw the baby out with the bath water. We would have been given a chance, like most other nations, to evolve our educational system to fit into the 21st century, to evolve our medical system to fit into the 21st century, to evolve our social system to fit into the 21st century, to evolve our political system to fit into the 21st century, to evolve all human systems that are necessary for nation building to evolve into the 21st century. Cross-cultural pollination simply means that you borrow things from other cultures, not to replace what you have, but to add on to what you have. And those things that continue to hold relevance, you keep it. Yes. And things that are no longer relevant, you throw them away, whether it's in politics or in religion.
That's right.
It is said that the greatest enemy to religion is what? Science.
Science.
Some things due to ignorance that we credited,
yes.
As, wizardry or some kind of evil, whatever. It was all based out of ignorance.
That's right.
Every nation that evolved had those misconceptions about reality, about their experiences, about things that were going on that they couldn't explain. And not only because of the things that were going on that they couldn't explain, but also because of the idea that sometimes you have to use people's ignorance to maintain control over them.
I get Ochuaja. Yeah. I guess what we're trying to say here, and I would hope that our listeners will take from this conversation, is what is happening to us. We are participants.
We are.
We are just as guilty.
Stockholm syndrome.
There you go. We are just as guilty
today.
Because you look, we are the only people where we got all these fantastic things. We have all these fantastic things. They come and take them. Then they send it right back to us. And we think we got something. We think we got something new.
Which you don't.
Which we don't. Somebody's trying to say something here. So what I'm trying to say is we can blame the government.
Yeah.
But we are the government.
We allow it
to happen. We allow because of our sense of self is poor.
It's poor.
It's so poor we don't have the guts to speak up.
Not only that, just to add to that, not only that.
Well, let me finish that thought. Let me finish that thought.
Yeah.
We don't have the guts to tell our leaders this is not acceptable.
Fear.
We vote because we are giving a little money on the side, but we're not thinking about that baby we're carrying in our backs.
What the future will be.
What is their future?
Yes.
We got to let go of fear and speak up and speak out.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? I am not, Chiism does not advocate wars and things of that nature, but we want the war of the mind.
That's it.
Say it again.
War of the mind.
War of the mind.
Mind over matter.
We need to begin to argue. When somebody says something your mama did not say, you need to pause and say, okay, let's think about that.
Yes.
If you think about Africa in the past, and now we're Africans, so we're going to always talk about Africans.
Yes.
But what we're saying has universal application.
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
What if you go to the village? I remember when we used to be children and we'd go to the village and we used to look forward to it. We used to look forward to it. Now, it wasn't about televisions. No. It wasn't about, it was just the community life.
Nature.
The nature.
The smell of the wood burning.
The joy. And I regret that for our children. I regret that because they don't have that. You remember going with your family, you go to the stream.
You experience life.
You experience life. You're not inside doing video games and talking on the cell phone. You were with your family. You were with nature. You understood who Chineke is.
Yes.
All that you see.
The beauty of life.
If you want to know who Chineke is, oh baby, look. Just look outside the window.
Absolutely.
Look at the sun. Look at even your fellow human being is indicative of who Chineke is.
Yes.
Now you continue with your thought.
I got carried away listening to what you said. Good points. You know, but to kind of like put it in a nutshell, we have to look within for solutions to our problems. Our problems are immense.
Yes.
In every facet of nation building, we have issues. From our politics, religion, social systems, interaction with one another. The idea that a black person will become my enemy simply because they're from Jamaica. The idea that I have no love for my brothers and sisters because they're from Haiti. The idea that I don't see my brothers and sisters from Liberia as my own. Divide and conquer.
Yes.
We were split all over this planet, and it has divided us. I always say to people, if you're from Jamaica, and I'm from Nigeria, and you're from Senegal, you're from Liberia, you're from Haiti, whatever, if we are gathered together, do you think that the European or the Chinese or any other tribe of human beings will look at us based on the fact that I'm Jamaican? Based on the fact that I'm Nigerian? When they look at you, all they're seeing is a black person and African. They don't care what part of Africa I come from. They don't care if I'm Jamaican. Unity is prerequisite to greatness for black folks. We need to see ourselves as the same because we've all suffered the same injustice.
Remove tribalism.
Remove tribalism from our vocabulary.
Yes.
It is not important based on what we're facing from without. We're facing a lot of hell. People are coming into our communities, particularly in Africa, to disenfranchise us, to make us hate one another, to pit one tribe against the other, to create an elitist system that does not think that their responsibility involves those people that don't have access to the kind of resources that they have access to based on the level of power that they have within the community. We, as Africans, need to think about the next generation, because only if we think about the next generation can we begin to look inward and start to develop systems and start to look at ourselves as being responsible for where the next generation ends up. Self-love, unity. We need to go back and re-examine those things that we were told by our colonizers. We need to go back and understand that the heaven that we seek is right here on earth.
Africa is heaven.
I don't have to wait to die for me to be blessed, for me to end up in this land of milk and honey, when there's milk and honey all over Africa right now. There's milk and honey right here.
And because we can't tap into it.
Because we can't tap into it. Somebody else is tapping into it for us, enriching themselves. We have to look at the world as it is today, right now. What do we need to do to make sure that our brothers and sisters that have the expertise to develop Africa outside the continent come back home and use that expertise? Allow them to use that expertise to build Africa. But that can only be possible if the quote-unquote regular citizens rise up and tell the leadership, we are tired of being tired.
And you rise up at the ballot box.
That's where you rise up.
That's where you rise up. You don't keep voting people
and think about the people that you are. See, I'm glad you brought that up because we're talking about ballot box. This is ballot box democracy, which is alien to Africa. You understand? Ballot box democracy.
Well, that's what we got going there.
That's what we got going. So right now, we need to try to be able to get people into leadership positions that think like we think, that have the love of the citizenry as their number one priority. You know, Akon. Think about somebody like Akon, who's going all over Africa, putting electricity, renewable energy and stuff like that. Think about having leaders like that.
Like that.
People that love Africa so much, love their community, that they are willing to do whatever is necessary, including giving up the ghost for the next generation.
And understand, if you do the right thing, the money will come.
It will come.
If you want to be rich as a leader, if you want to be rich, if you do right by the people, the money will come to you. Don't focus on the money. Focus on the people. Build up the people. But that is also mindset.
It's a mindset.
Let's understand it. We got to let go of greed. The leaders have to let go of greed. A young man wrote me and asked, what is it that we have to do? What is it that Chisholm is going to do to help us to change Africa? And, sometimes we have things in our own culture that we don't even look at until somebody brings it back and throws it at us and reminds us. Let's take the principles of Kwanzaa.
Yes.
That's African concepts. It took Maulana Karenga to remind us.
God bless him.
He went to Africa and got those concepts to remind you.
Yes.
If you do these things,
yes, you
will change Africa. Unity. You talked about unity.
Yes.
And that is, you let's say in Nigeria, okay, you got the Igbos, you got the Yorubas, you got the Hausas, etc., 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 and they're killing each other.
There's no unity
as Nigerians. So if you want a one Nigeria, some people don't want one Nigeria. Some people do. But let's just take it from those who want one Nigeria. If you want one Nigeria, any African part of the world that you're in, if you want to be whole, you have got to embrace each other, whether you're rich or poor.
Yes.
Yoruba, Hausa, ethnic, whatever. Think Nigeria. And the leadership need to make that part of their campaign and stick to it. Not get voted in and then they start becoming tribalistic. Then you have this whole concept of self-determination. If your mind is right,
yes.
If your mind is right, you are not going to succumb to fear.
Yes.
See, we have not invested in education.
And that is key right there.
That's it. Those children, our children are the cause and the reason for Africa to exist in the future.
What kind of education? I don't mean...
Yes, I know where you're going.
Yeah. Remember last time we talked about Mongo Park?
Yes.
Discovering the Niger River when there were people there already. These are the kinds of things that we need to get away from and start teaching
that.
Kids in Africa that somebody discovered a specific area in Africa when there were people there already. If people talk about medical inventions and stuff like that, how do you evolve your traditional medicine to fit into the 21st century? Because 21st century medicine comes from traditional medicine. Cocaine, which they use in South America for energy, people that work in the fields, is used in medicine.
Yes.
But the flip side of it is people that consume drugs synthesize it and then snuff it on their nose.
Look.
You see what I'm saying?
Look.
So it is very important that, just like you said, and I'm glad you brought that up, education is key. What kind of education is key? What are we teaching these children? Community responsibility is paramount. In America, the saying, what is that? God bless America, blah, 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 blah. And the pride of an American is to tell you, I'm an American.
That's right.
Before anything else.
That's right.
Can we say that in Africa?
Can we say it?
I'm African. Before anything else, before I'm Muslim, before I'm Christian, before I'm Buddhist, before I'm this, before I'm that, I'm an African. And if you raise a generation that thinks that way, Africa will one day become great.
I'm helping some people.
Yes.
Giving them money to help them through this, And, they're being gracious.
And I got to thank you for that initiative.
Yeah, the Onyioha initiative, And I wish I would have more of my people supporting that. But, see, I'm not Red Cross. But nonetheless, I'm going to continue to seek those who will see that our people are worth $10. are worth $2. I don't care even if
But
it's $1.
like you just said now, why is it that when you go to church on Sunday and the preacher tells you to give 10% of your income to the church, you can do it. But when we, as Africans, from an African perspective, tell you to do something productive for your community and help to feed the hungry and just to help nurture it, you turn a blind eye.
You turn a blind eye. But anyway, as we were talking about self-determination, our children can not engage in self-determination when they don't see themselves as worthy.
Thank you.
Do you understand? So you're going to have unity, and then you're going to have self-determination. Our children should be able to say, hey, I can do this. I want to do this.
Yes.
Not just for myself. You know, we send our children to all the Ivy Leagues and all that kind of stuff, and then they come back and they can't tell you where their mama's, the road to their mother's house is. You know, that's not education. That's ignorance. But anyway, that's another day. But
that's another topic.
That's another topic. But then when we have our children, I see videos of young African children creatively doing things. They create all sorts of things.
Yes.
But no support.
Talent
because the talent is there, but nobody wants to invest in them. We don't want to invest in them. But as soon as somebody else wants to invest in them, then you step in and say, oh, you know, it's our thing. You should, from the beginning, when an African child has a bright idea, those of us who have the funds or the wherewithal, we should say, how do we help?
Yeah, you have to say, how do we help? Because if you don't say somebody from abroad, maybe the Bill Gates or whoever in the tech company, for example, will invest in that kid, give that child scholarship to go study at Harvard University, and once he graduates, he gets a job in the United States and then helps to build and develop America. We have just lost a talent that can develop or help develop Africa.
We were just looking at two videos.
Yes.
Well, it was actually one video. But there's a video of these two young men from the University of Nsukka, I think. I'm not quite sure what university, but they're Nigerian students. And they are developing a process that you can use to identify who has COVID.
Wow.
Okay? So it's like a wristband.
Yeah.
And it has the sanitizer attached to it, right? So that every 2 minutes or every minute or so, it releases sanitizer and you can that's number one. And then it also alerts a monitoring station when you have a fever.
Wow.
So they'll come to you
I didn't even know about
and check out to see if you have a fever, so that they can monitor who in the community have a fever.
Wow.
But they're still languishing.
Yeah, they're languishing until some foreign entity finds them.
They
will give them scholarship, take them from Nigeria.
They're already doing that.
Take them abroad. Now they're helping other nations.
But not, you know.
Yeah. So, and here's the thing. Our own people will look down on them. If somebody from abroad comes up with the same thing, we as an African, or we as Africans, believe that whatever it is that comes in from abroad is better than what we can put together indigenously in Africa.
Right. That's right.
You see what I'm saying?
That's right.
So
you know you've been talking about chloroquine.
Yeah.
Right? Chloroquine. Well, before chloroquine became anything, all the quinines and witch God, okay, I'm not going to go there, you know, because I'm terribly allergic.
Yeah, I am too.
But before that came to be, in Igbo land, let me use Igbo land, we had Mamayako.
Yeah.
Which is a tree.
Yeah.
That you boil it, and you drink the juice, and it causes you
24 hours.
Within 24 hours, no more malaria. But we were discouraged from doing that because it came from us.
Yeah.
Unless it came from orthodox medicine, then it's not good enough.
And not only because it came from us, because those quinines are foreign, manufactured abroad, right? Yeah. And so local medicine is competition for these pharmaceutical companies. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So they discourage local medicine that can help you with the same ailment, just so they could sell their ware.
But that's the point I'm trying to make.
Yes.
Self-determination. You must have unity. You must have self-determination, but self-determination is difficult without support.
Absolutely.
You know, you can come up with all the ideas, and if nobody's going to support you, you then just sit back and say, well, I'll get what it is that's supported. That's why now, you know, Abba used to be so, oh my God, that if you're from Abba,
the manufacturing hub of Eastern
Nigeria, they can take anything and just,
no matter what it is.
No matter what,
yeah.
right? But now everything is shiny from China, and that's what we're going after. Yeah. You know, I did tell the story last time where a young man, I said I wanted to buy a pair of shoes, and he wanted to tell me, well, you have to get the one from Las Palmas, from London, from US. But when I said I wanted the one that was made in a back, he said, oh, madam, you don't want that one now. This one I look at. Oh my goodness.
So it's local stuff is bad now.
Bad. We have got to let go of that hatred that keeps us from supporting the things that we make, the things that represent who we are, our genius. And the next thing, of course, is collectively, if you're going to save Africa or the African world, you've got your unity, you've got to have self-determination. It doesn't matter, we start late. you have to self-determination, and you have to have collective work. Ole Honanya, you know, remember there's a song that they used to sing that Ole Honanya, Oga Dide, Rumbebi Gebi, Ole Honanya, Oga Dide, Rumbebi Gebi. And they said, Ndine Kwegekwe, Hageti Akanobi, Simakwara, Okubocha. What are they saying? You know what I like to do. But what are they saying? Yeah. Those who do not engage collective work will be the losers, because ultimately they are going to find out that collective work works and they are the losers. Yes. Collective work is important. Remember when I said we used to enjoy going home, that you go home to the village and it's so clean, they sweep. You know, the people get up in the morning, the women get up very early in the morning and they're sweeping and singing and you know, all that stuff. And so collectively, if we say Onyioha, if my brother is hurting, it becomes my responsibility. If my sister is hurting, it becomes my responsibility. Any hungry child in Africa is too many. Any sick man in the street that's walking around butt naked and we're watching it is too many. Collective work and responsibility. We need to reach out to each other and be a part of the solution, not do, you know, I saw something that blew my mind in a video on a bus. Yeah. The bus driver was angry because some young man came in, didn't have money to pay his ticket. The bus driver, real big, grabbed him for $2, threatened to kill him. People sat there and watched. He put his hand on him. The boy was saying he could not breathe. And there are two black people now. I'm talking about two black people for $2. But the collective work and responsibility aspect of this story is that all the black people sat there. And didn't say, here's a dollar. And didn't say, man, I'll pay for the dollar. Don't break his neck. Don't kill him. Yeah. Then the black police officer came. And do you know who they arrested? The poor child that they were choking to death because he didn't have to do. And then the driver was left. Collective work means all of us see. You know what really annoys me when I go to Nigeria or wherever I go is to see a dirty place. Even when I go for a walk, I take a trash bag. It just drives me. You know. Oh, wait. Okay. Here's a question or just an observation. Do you know the cleanest place in Africa? Where? The village. Yes. But of course. Where culture rules. Yes. People wake up, before they do anything, they clean their environment. Before they go to the market, before you give the kids a bath, before they prepare food, they wake up in the morning and clean their environment. Now look at African cities. Yeah, but well, in the village, it's seeping in there. It's seeping in down because they're not thinking like that. Everything that is supposedly what the city is, how you define wealth, right? Yes. The definition of wealth in the village is different from the definition of wealth outside of it. Yes. But as time goes on, the outside starts to encroach upon, you know, the inside. They start to re-socialize people, opening stores and doing all these things and not really creating businesses that can take care of the trash. In the village, you didn't need a business to do that. It was an individual responsibility. In the city, individual responsibility is lacking. People eat banana peels or whatever they just throw it there. Sanitation department. But you will blame the government, though.
You blame the government,
but you're the one who ate the banana and threw it there, and you are sitting there and you saw it.
Yeah. When you drive out right here, we're in the United States, right here in Atlanta, and you drive out and you drink a can of soda, you don't throw it out.
And you do. You're looking behind you to
You're looking behind, make sure nobody's there, because even citizens will stop you.
They may not. They got your license,
I give it to the car,
your plate, and they'll just call 911.
You might even be on video.
That's right.
See? So that personal responsibility for your environment.
That's collective work.
And we don't seem to have that right now because we've been resocialized.
Yes. So we've got to let go of the fear of working with each other, buying from each other, selling to each other, because this is how community and societies grow. If I buy from you, if I sell to you, you buy from me, we grow together.
The money circulates in the community.
That's right.
But now we just want to go buy some Giorgio Armani suits.
Yes.
When somebody in Aba in Nigeria can make the same quality suit.
Same thing, or maybe even better.
Yeah, but the commercials and everything else in our mindset is that if it's foreign, it is better.
That's right.
But are both of them made of the same materials? Yes. Does the craftsmanship that goes into making both suits the same? Yes. Is it good to appreciate the way we dress when we're outside Nigeria as opposed to the way we dress culturally when we are in Nigeria? How many times do you go to Saudi Arabia, for example, and see people walking around in suits?
Oh, okay.
They walk around in what they wear in their traditional attire, whether they're in business, whether they work at a bank, whether they teach in schools. It doesn't matter what they do. They maintain. Why can't we do that?
Yeah, and that's how they make money. That's
it.
How the community makes money. Now, if you go to, I'm going to be honest with you. I go to Nigeria and several places. I'm looking for African gowns. I can't find it. What they have hanging up is some things that some people shipped from wherever. You know, the gowns and whatever. But I don't see ready-made African things I can buy unless they're kind of shoddily made. You know, unless you actually require that it's made for you. But for me to just walk in and say, "Oh, look at these beautiful African," no, I will see Eurocentric kind of
clothes. Go try it out in the dressing room.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? So cooperative economics is one of the ways that we can work. So we have to let go of the fear of working with each other, and then of course the next thing is purpose. What is our purpose?
Yes.
You know, and I'm going on the question this young man asked, and I hope he'll follow through and watch the video, okay? Yeah. Because each and every one of us must have a purpose while we're here.
Yes. If
your purpose is to make your environment, your community, and I'm not just talking about Africa, right here in African American communities, we have the same challenges. You know, in the Caribbean, the same challenges. But if your purpose is to leave this world a better place than you found it,
it will take you to your destiny.
It will take you to your destiny, and it will make your world better.
Absolutely.
You know, so but when we walk around with no purpose, you know, and I just want to go to college, get my degrees, get a job,
raise my family, and that's it.
And that's it. But who are you expecting to make the community better for you? Who? It's you.
They defer to the next generation without equipping them with what they need to be able to chart out a productive, future for themselves.
That's right. They don't know what to do. These people are young, and like I said,
they emulate you.
They emulate monkey see, monkey do.
Naive.
You know? If you don't go show them now, what do you expect? They will do exactly what they saw.
They will just assimilate and keep assimilating,
and keep going.
And after a while, we'll just disappear.
You see somebody, and when I see that, I say, man, what is your purpose on this earth? You are driving a Mercedes-Benz right next to a gutter, filled with God knows what.
Yeah. Right outside your house.
Right outside your house.
Yeah.
And you have no purpose.
None.
You have no purpose.
You never wake up in the morning and say, you know what? I have to clean up this environment.
Yeah, I have to. Your purpose must be to make the world a better place than how you found it, and teach your children what they should know. So if Africa wants to get better, we need to have, like you said, we have to have a unity.
Yep.
We have to have self-determination, and I'm using those principles. You have to have collective work and responsibility. You must have cooperative economics, because that's how we make our money.
And that's nation building.
That's nation building. And then each one of us must have a purpose.
Yes.
If you don't have a purpose, ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you right now, if you don't have a purpose, go write your purpose.
And
write it down.
Your purpose must impact your community.
That's right.
Positively. Positive impact in your community makes your life worthwhile. You are your brothers and sisters' keeper.
That's right.
If your community rises, you rise right along with it. What did they say? A rising tide lifts all boats.
Say it again.
It's not about you.
It's not about you.
It's about your community. If your community is growing,
that's right,
it means that you grow right along with it. It means that your children will prosper. They will flourish. This heaven we seek is right here on earth. And we're in control in terms of where we end up. What we put in is what we're going to get. If we don't put in anything of substance, we get nothing
back. Nothing
we
back.
Get nothing. We must stop thinking that things that belong to us, things that come from us, we must stop thinking that our educational system, science, religion, politics, we must stop thinking that every human system that is primordial and indigenous to us is inferior. Because inferiority complex will kill you. It's killing us right now because we see no value in ourselves. This has to change. And it's going to change for the most part based on the kind of leadership that we end up with and a robust educational system that stresses our contribution to civilized behavior. That we were before they came. We lived before they came. We took care of our communities before they came. And if it wasn't for 400 years of slavery and how many years of colonization that interfered with our growth, no telling where the Africa will be right now in the world community.
And as long as we are not taking our community into consideration when we state what our purpose is, they can hang that little music around our necks that says almost that means,
can you explain that stuff, please?
That means that you're walking around with all the gold and shiny stuff around you, but your mama is naked. What's the pride in that?
There you go.
What's the pride in that?
There you go, folks.
So your purpose must be to make sure not just that you are grand, but everybody else around you is grand as well. And then you've got this. Now remember, we're talking about what it's going to take for us to change. You cannot forget. I think to me, the creativity aspect of who we are. I don't know of anybody anywhere in the world more creative than we are. We are so creative. Well, if you look at every aspect of world interpersonal relationships, you will find Africa in it. Is it the music?
We're there.
Is it the dance?
We're there.
Is it the clothing?
We're there.
Come on now.
We're everywhere.
We're everywhere. But we don't use that for our own good.
Because we don't stress it.
Because we're not teaching our children to be proud of those things that they create themselves, that they develop themselves. That creativity that we have. It didn't just start with us. It started with our ancestors. But as long as we discredit our ancestors, then how can we be proud of who we are? And how can our children in the future look at us, who, when we become ancestors, as important, as relevant, as having done anything?
As having done anything. Just a little story here. It's not really a story, just an observation. you talk about America going to the moon. You talk about space. You talk about America conquering the space and winning the space race between America and Russia. In terms of looking down upon yourself and not understanding your miseducation, if it wasn't for Steven Spielberg, God bless his soul, how many of you would have known that if it wasn't for 5 black women, space travel, going to the moon would never have been possible?
Well, say it again.
5 African-American women made the journey to the moon.
Say it again.
Is that being taught in school? Now, they may not teach it in school in America or in China or in Europe or in South America, but does anybody in Africa know that the reason why America was successful landing on the moon was because of 5 black women, African women, that made that possible? So when we talk about the educational system and what we're being taught in school, we need to start to stress our contribution to civilized behavior. What do you say? Space travel, asphalt, peanut butter, whatever.
Yes.
The elevator. What contributions in science that the European touts today was actually made possible by black folks, simply because that they wrote the history that you're learning in school and they wrote you out of it.
Yes.
I'm not saying that we shouldn't learn things from the European or the Chinese or any
other
race. It's a global world, cross-cultural pollination.
Yes.
But like I said earlier, we cannot throw the baby out with the bath water. We have to examine what role we have played in what science, medicine, whatever it is that we enjoy today, what part did we play as Africans? We need to stress that in our educational system and things we learn in school so that our children can feel that they contributed something to this world, and that will go a long way in mitigating this low self-esteem and inferiority complex that permeates our communities today.
That's right. And I like these things that we're outlining. I hope that the young people are listening, because very honestly, this is about you.
Yes, it is.
This is about you.
Yes,
this is about our young people.
Yes, it is.
It is about letting them know that they are what life is all about, that they are the future of Africa. Yes, and if we can put enough in them, they would regurgitate it and share it with the rest of the world. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So now we have so much more to talk about, but last but not least, and I will end our program today, is that we need to begin to have faith.
Yes.
Faith in our fathers, our great-grandmothers, great-grandfathers, our ancestors. We need to have faith in our spirituality. We need to have faith in ourselves and in our ability to succeed. We need to trust and obey us.
Yes.
Not anybody else.
Yes. Thank you.
The lizard fell from the tall trees and hit the ground, and nobody said anything. He looks around and he says, well, if nobody's going to praise me, I'll praise myself. So that's why when you see the lizard going like this, he said, yeah, I'm all that. I'm good.
You surviving that fall.
Look, you have to be like the critic.
Yeah.
Praise yourself.
Yes.
Acknowledge who you are.
Yes.
Teach your children. Yes, you can live in a global world, but don't stop being who you are.
Yes.
You have to let go. And as I said earlier, as you try to let go, this is what's going to happen. You are going to be challenged. But challenge is a good thing, because this is what challenge does. It makes you stronger. It helps you build muscles, big muscles you can flex. It helps you learn how to weave and bob and get out of the way.
That's it.
When you are climbing, when the new you is rising, is evolving, people are going to be throwing stones, trying to encourage you not to leave them behind. But the good news is the stone will always come down and hit them on the head. Meanwhile, keep climbing. Keep climbing.
Yes, sir.
Know that God made you a fantastic human being. Who you are is where Chineke is. Yes. Who you are is where the power lies. Yes, you can let go of things things that don't help you. You can let go of whatever holds you back.
Yes.
Because guess what?
There's a lot of stuff holding us back.
You can do it. You are capable.
Yes, we can.
And we're looking forward to seeing you again. This was, I mean, we had a few little challenges with the video and what have you. But the moment that we spend with you means a lot to us, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
And we'll continue to commit our time. May Chineke bless you and keep you safe wherever you go. We love you. And I can say that because I know God loves me, and you are a manifestation of the divine. Oh, no, guys. So it is. God.